hoping that will continue to be the case, and I'm only going to give a report from now on as needed. All right. So hopefully this will be the last one. But I just read last night that there's some new variants that are quickly spreading in South Africa. The BA 4 and 5, I think. there are still subvariants of the Omicron virus, and they're even more contagious than BA2, which was more contagious than the original Omicron, which was, so basically these new variants are as contagious as measles. They said that COVID was the second most contagious virus in the world, secondary to measles, and now COVID's caught up. So basically, and people in Africa are getting these new variants, even though they already had the original Omicron variant. So having had that variant doesn't, after three months or so, doesn't protect you anymore. And basically, that's kind of the case that once, even if you've had an immunization or if you've had a case 3 or 4 months later, you're now susceptible to another case of COVID. So fortunately, the severity level remains very low, and we hope that that'll continue to be the case. I hope that's the case for the new variants. And nobody's quite sure about that yet. But again, I hope this is my last report.
Thank you, Paul. No offense, all right, a couple other announcements. I don't see Bill Strand here today, but don't forget, we have an office.
Oh, he sent me in his stead.
Okay, you want to talk about it a second, Bill?
Yes, if you don't mind. This is a last call for baseball. Who will be going with us to the baseball game on May 19th? 15th, right.
Yeah.
15th. It's a Sunday. So Reggie, because this is the turn in. Bill's buying the tickets. Chuck?
Yes.
Who else?
I'm going, Bill.
I'm
going
Ken?
with Bill Payne.
Dolores, are you going with him? How can you let him go without you?
A day to myself.
Okay, so,
Heard that.
oh, Bill.
Those are going to be.
You said the 15th? I go.
What's your name? What's your name?
Joanne.
Anybody else?
Were you alone?
Me.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Okay. Walden, Payne, and Chapman. And today, Jim +1, right? Reggie +1. Nettie.
You got me now?
Ken.
I don't know what the hell is that.
No. Bill Murphy.
Okay.
Driving.
2 of us.
Curtis is going.
We'll work that out. Bill's buying the last one. I can do that. $15. That's it.
By the ball ticket for Robert and Joanne Church.
I count. No.
Yeah. Come here,
Bill
Glenn.
Payne.
I need a.
Come on, Paul. He's slow to pick up. Counting on the raffle. We'll give you one. Get your head in the game. All right.
Bill Penn.
Another $100 check today, which adds to this. This is just adding up, I guess kind of went through the checks and added them up real quickly and confirmed.
Man. I can't hear what it's saying.
All right. Go ahead. That's great. Anybody else has anything? Right, well,
Hey, man. Sound is messing up. What do you think it is?
On your end or their end?
I don't know.
It could be a mute you for a second.
welcome. You've been down this neck of the woods before?
Oh, many times.
Okay, welcome. Any other guests today? All right, well, far be it from me to stand in the way of you getting to the food. After we have lunch, we'll do happy dollars and then we'll have our guest speaker. Our guest speaker today is Connie Morrison, and she's editor and co-owner of the Eastern Shore Post newspaper. So let me get out of the way, and our guests and ladies, please make yourself available to our food and line up. And once they're in line, gentlemen, you can
Where was I off? Came up with a lot more money.
Well, you've underestimated the Venmo collections, which you had no way to know. And the web collections were, instead of 400, there were 567. Those are the main differences.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, what happened to my pen?
I needed it for the baseball. This is a pretty good turnout.
Yeah.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Taking the money too?
No, well, don't worry about the money.
Well, he said he needed the money.
He's gonna buy the tickets, he'll collect from us.
Bill will get your money.
Yeah, well, I'm not. He knows where I live, but
That's right. That should worry you.
He would be here today, but he's got a webinar.
Bill, who was on there? Was the church, did you decide it was? Diane?
Church is on, but church is in.
And
there.
Tom Gunn.
I know, you said
He's a
earlier.
guest, he's a guest.
And Tom.
And Tom, don't overeat there, Jackie.
Yeah, don't go overboard, Jack. Fish? Flounder.
Oh, wow.
All the pieces are small.
The charge is extra? Do you have that on your menu?
Occasionally.
Okay. It's not a regular menu item. Mhm.
Hey, Phil,
Yes.
just to double check with you, you got the presentation on there, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I brought my charger, so we don't run out of. So I figure set them up here,
Yeah.
and I can be anywhere.
Yeah, I'll probably move this table more.
Yeah, How many people you got?
Uh, 8.
8.
Yeah.
A massive fireside.
Well, the previous president didn't do his job.
COVID is a reason.
You could have done a fireside.
Congratulations, man. I knew you'd get the money.
Bill, you could have done a Zoom fireside chat.
Yeah, I could.
Hopefully it won't take any longer, maybe about 40 minutes.
I think it'll go an hour.
Have you signed Mr. Marshall up for Rotary?
No, but we talked to him about it.
Oh.
And he said,
You got to twist his arm a little better.
we'll wear him down.
Please feel free if I stumble on something or say anything
You're
wrong.
on your own, Chuck.
All right.
There will be one driver. That's little kids' favorite dish.
Absolutely.
Little kids.
Oh,
And Jennifer. Hi, Betty. Here just in time for dessert. No, I'm kidding. Ryan is so long.
Okay, good. All right.
This thing works pretty good now. All you have to do is turn it on and it remembers everything.
What about all that feedback?
Oh, I better stop.
Why are you getting feedback?
What?
Have you cleared out that feedback?
Have I done?
Working on it. I've been working on it the last couple of years, putting together the whole family tree of people from Tangier Island. And I've been using your newspaper as a source for a lot of information. Particularly, it's kind of weird, but I like reading the obituaries.
That is weird.
Yeah, the obituaries are excellent in your newspaper. They tell you everything about the person, what they did for a living, all the family members, cousins, aunts, uncles, and that's a genealogist too. So, of course, I like reading the stories as well. So I was really looking forward to hearing you today, so I'm going to turn it over to you and my time.
All right, well, thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me out to speak today. I really appreciate it. I'm wondering if anybody has any burning questions they're going to want me to touch on or topics, so that I'll be sure and incorporate those into my presentation. Well, we'll just go on then and as things occur to you, be sure to ask. We have
Connie?
yes.
One question.
Do you have a list of locations where you can obtain the paper?
We do. I could, if you want to give me your email afterwards, I can send it to you. We have more than 250 locations up and down the shore where we distribute posts. We go from the Bridge Tunnel up to Kokomo and over to Chincoteague. And roughly a third of the, we divide our paper into 3 zones, and about a third of them come south of Exmoor. About a third of them are Exmoor through, I'd say, Parksley, maybe a little bit north of Parksley. And then the other third is that northern tier, including Chincoteague. So I'd be happy to get a list to you.
What's this?
Yeah, you're welcome.
We
have
Cool.
1, 2, 3, 4,
I like
5, 6, 7 full-time employees at the Post. That includes writers, layout people, classifieds, and legals, and our other display advertising. And those are the people that are like on payroll. But we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people who are part-time and help us get the paper. And then that includes our drivers. It includes people who contribute now and then. We just have little pieces of the paper broken up. Somebody does our typefaces every week. We have several graphic designers on staff. In fact, our graphic designer did very well in that press association contest too. So we do have a pretty broad employment base here on the shore. And our philosophy, if you want to call it that, is everyone deserves access to the news that shapes their lives. And for that reason, we will do everything to keep this paper free of charge to our readers. We believe that the news that we report on local government, on events that are happening, on the employment ads, all of that has the potential to shape or change somebody's life. And we think everybody deserves access to that. So you won't see a charge or a paywall on our website. Everything that we publish goes up on our website free of charge as well. We focus on local news. There are a lot of places you can go to read about and discuss what the president's doing or what the governor's doing, but you won't read about it in our paper unless there's a local tie to it, because we're the only people that are going to attend the DARE graduation of the middle schoolers. I mean, that's our turf. That's what we do well. So we leave the big national politics to others, and we focus on our community and connecting our community. And lastly, we are committed to setting the record straight when we air and publishing correction, clarification, whatever it takes. We want to be, it's part of our integrity as an organization. And it's it's part of the trust that we develop, so with our readers. So we want to do that. I don't know if you all know this, but we do everything at our paper except print it. We send it up to Easton, and it's published or printed by a community newspaper group up there, and then they ship it back down to us for distribution. We used to be published by the Virginia Untitled, but they closed their press a few years ago and moved all their printing to Richmond. In order for us to get the papers out on reliably on Friday morning to everyone, we like to have them by the time people are heading to work. We like to have everything out. We need those papers back by midnight. So we usually send them in the email up to the printer about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. And then they get them back to us by midnight. They drive them down when they're done. So at the same time, we will put the newspaper online. It's the same time that we sent the pages to the printer. Again, the whole newspaper goes online every week so that everybody can access it. So in order to put together a newspaper, the first thing we do is create a budget. And that budget is determined by the number of ads that we have and the size of the ads that we have. So every Monday, I get a list of the ads from the ad manager, and I use that to determine the size of the paper and how everything's going to fit together. Of course, we have other pieces. My partner's financial partner's name is Ace Siebold. He's a businessman up on Chincoteague, and he calls our articles that stuff between the ads. So it's easy where his focus is. But we do that is what determines the size of the paper. So sometimes folks will call us and want us to run things for free, and sometimes we will if we can do it, and if it's for a nonprofit. But for the most part, we ask for ads because, again, to be able to bring you this paper free of charge to the readers every week, we need the revenue to pay our staff and to print the publication to do that. So we do the budget on Mondays. Layout begins on Tuesdays. We use a cloud site. We post everything as it's written, photos as they're taken, up to our cloud. And then once the content is there, then I can go through, I do the layout. Once the content is there, I can go through and start placing things on the page. It's a little tricky with the weekly newspaper because sometimes our timing is such that, let's say a storm came through on a Thursday, our deadline is 3 o'clock on Thursday. That storm will be old news by the next week, but it will still be in our paper because we are a paper of record. And it's important if there was damage, if there was anything that needs to be reported like that, it's important to have a record of that. So we will still capture those things, and although they may not go on the front that week, we do obituaries, and we have. I'm sad to say, obituaries have become a much larger part of our business model this year. We used to have maybe 2 pages. It's not unusual for us to have 4 pages of obituaries now. So, and then by Thursday, everything is been put on the page, and we're just going through and doing the final copy editing. David Martin is our copy editor. I don't know if any of you have read a book called The Crying Heart Tattoo, but David Martin wrote that book along with, I don't know, a dozen or so other bestsellers on the New York Times, and he is an outstanding copy editor. So, so we brought him on because I felt like when I bought the paper, we needed to kind of boost our level of, I didn't want people making excuses for us, you know, when they see something that's grammatically wrong or something like that and say, oh, it's just our local paper. I wanted really to raise that bar a little bit. So we did hire Dave as our copy editor, and he's great at his job. So Thursday we'll finish it up and get those pages out to the printer, and so they can start their work on them. There are a couple of things, questions that we get a lot. One of them is, will you leave my property out of your property listings? No. The short answer, because we're a newspaper record, I feel like it's a matter of integrity that we don't adjust what we are going to put in the paper based on how people feel about that. So, and I want our readers to know they're getting the full record. They're not just getting the things the records that people didn't know better than to call the office and ask them to take them out. So we print the full record. Same with court postings. We get a lot of requests. We only, for the most part, we only do felonies. And so we try to follow this through from indictment all the way through the resolution of the case. But that's another place where people ask us to change things or leave things out. We won't do it. It's just, like I said, it's a matter of, to me, it's a matter of integrity. So the editor is the person who decides on both the content and how, well, in our case, since I do layout, what goes on what page. And also, you know, there are things that we have to check our writers on beyond the copy editing thing. So I'll give you an example. Is maybe somebody writes in their article about a gang leader, right? And so we'll say, okay, wait, how do we know this person's a gang leader? Can we go back and, you know, did the officer testify? In that case, we'll just say officer testified this person's a gang leader. You know, those are the kinds of things that an editor has to step in and look for and change. Excuse me. In our case, I'm also the business manager. So anything insurance, circulation, dealing with the printer, all of those things are part of that job too. Each of our reporters has a beat that they cover. You may know that Jim is our Cape Charles bureau chief.
I just got a raise. Thank you all.
Yeah, and so we are so fortunate to have Jim on staff with us. I think that he has changed the face of our paper since he started. It's a pleasure to look through and see his photographs. It's a pleasure to see them online. And I just can't say enough good things, although I know you guys are thinking he'll be impossible to live with. But he really has done so much for us, and we are so appreciative of that. Are there any, now based on what I've told you, are there any other questions that you have?
Connie, Bill Payne. I always enjoyed a feature that either you or one of your writers put in where they would ask, or you would ask a series of questions, and then you had to respond to those. You haven't done that in a long time, have you?
Well,
all right.
I thought we did it last week.
Oh, okay.
A little behind.
It's
But
for a long time we did not do that.
yeah, a long time they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know I'm a big fan and keep it up.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is something we started this contest during the early days of the pandemic. Our copy editor David Martin came to me and said, we need to give people some amusement. We need to do something to keep folks engaged, but also everybody's stuck at home. Let's do something more. So we started running more puzzle pages during that time. So occasionally you'll see extra puzzle pages. But he came up with the idea of this contest, and it has really grown. And we may have anywhere from 40 to 90 people who respond, and out of those we draw randomly a winner every week. But I appreciate that feedback. I'm glad that you enjoyed that.
Reggie Widgeon, couple of questions. But first of all, this is a wonderful paper.
Well, thank you.
I have to admit, in all transparency, that my wife's the one who loves them every single week. I don't read them every week. But the first question is, there have been mentions of sightings of bobcats and cougars in the area. Have you done any articles that you recall in your newspaper regarding that?
I don't know that we have, and that's a good one. I know that there was a time around Massachusetts where people were reporting that, and we had somebody call and talk to somebody at Natural Resources or Wildlife, I can't remember which department, but and they said they were unable to confirm for us that that is what had been seen, and so we kind of didn't do anything with it at that time. But I have heard those reports, and I didn't know they were ongoing. That's good to know.
Of course, recently that. Secondly, missing people. Do you cover those?
We do. We have actually an ad this week
Yeah.
for a young man who is missing.
Mhm.
And Carol has been following up with the sheriff's department, and I'll just say that we haven't gotten enough information to write an article yet. But it's on our radar, and that's the kind of thing that we do like to do. So thank you for raising that. And we should either this week or next, depending on what we get back from the police. It's mostly the family, it seems like, that's driving that effort right now. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is instead of law enforcement.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Paul Strong. I read East Shore Post religiously every week, and I appreciate the fact that it's free. There are lots of places on the internet I go to get content about one thing or another. Usually after I've visited it a couple of times, it asks for a donation or if not a subscription. Do you have a way of people making contributions to your newspaper to keep it going because it's a valuable asset on this report?
We do. We recently added a PayPal button to our homepage, and that was mostly because it just makes it easier for our clients to go online and pay their bills that way instead of calling in with a credit card number. But excuse me. Now I forgot which question was. Donations. Yes, thank you. But yes, we did get actually in the mail a couple of donations at the beginning of the pandemic, because we did furlough most of our staff for about 6 weeks and that's how we weathered that storm. I mean, our whole intent was just to keep the paper going so that they would come back to jobs on the other end. And going in, we didn't know how long that would be, but 6 weeks was enough. And 6 weeks was enough to get our feet back under us and get things turned around. We also offer subscriptions. A lot of people don't know this. We are a free newspaper, but lots of people don't like chasing down a copy every week. So they subscribe, and we send it out first class mail every Friday. I won't tell you that it comes the next day because that would not be honest. It comes when it comes, even though we can't have the newspaper mailing permit because our newspaper's free. Right, so we have to send our paper out first class, and so your subscription really just covers the cost of postage for the most part. But we do offer that as well, and I think we have about 80 subscribers right now, which is helpful because we're a free newspaper. We have to get a court order every year that allows us to print legal ads, and in order to qualify for that, there are a number of things that you have to meet, but one of them, oddly enough, even though it's a free newspaper, one of them is that you have a subscription list. So a lot of our subscriptions also go to incarcerated people. Their families will purchase subscriptions for them. Those have to be handled with special care because they won't take just anything in the prison and give it to somebody else. Those have to be they have to be computer generated labels, and postage has to be generated on a label and stuck on it. Otherwise, they'll think family's sending it. And I guess you can soak newspapers in drugs or something is what they had told us. So, but yeah, that makes up a big part of our subscription base too. And people who've moved away from the area that want to stay, in touch and want the paper. They don't want to read so long. They want the paper. At our peak, we were at 15,000 circulation. We're at 12 right now. We cut down to 10 when the pandemic started, just trying to save money. I don't think we'll ever be back at 15. The printing costs, I was telling Jim earlier today, our printing costs when I bought the paper 6 years ago were about $800 a week. And now it's about $2,500 a week.
Wow.
So, and we didn't increase prices until this year. We ate those increases, all of them. And until this year, we said we won't make ends meet if we don't increase prices. So, so we did that this year.
Well, just to follow up, maybe you're doing this already and I've missed it, but I would suggest that you might have a box on the front page. If you enjoy reading our newspaper, we welcome contributions to this.
That's a fine idea. We have a spot there already. Why not? That's a smart idea. That one's going top of the pile.
Ken Roberts, I'm from a metropolitan area, and I think it's like a old-time newspaper, but posting the marriage licenses. I love that. I just like to see. the
There's
ages.
something for everybody. We used to do birth announcements.
Yes, I always
Yeah.
like those.
Yeah, and then we got a call from somebody.
It's a $10,000 fine.
We had a call that said, you listed me as the father of this child, I'm not the father of this child. I'm going to be in touch. Okay, so then we said, well, bring in the birth certificate, because they used to come directly from the hospital. And they would just fax them over every week. And then we said, well, if you'll bring it into the office with the birth certificate, that's an official document, we can publish from that. But very few people do. Another well-kept secret is that we run wedding announcements with the photo of the couple
Right.
for free.
Oh,
So if you have anyone that's getting married and you'd like their engagement photos in, or a photo from their wedding and a little write-up, call us. So you'll have to do the write-up, but we'll get it in the paper for you. And we do that for free. Yeah.
How many total employees do you have, and how many of those are actually reporters?
Total employees, seven. I have 7 full-time employees. Of those, 3 are reporters.
Okay, wow, that's incredible that you put together something like you do with that few resources.
Well, I'll tell you, Stephanie and Carol have very different writing styles. And Carol, she's been doing this so long, she knows everybody. She doesn't have to go look up what this guy's position is, because she knows already. I mean, so she just really can crank it out. Stephanie is a very careful writer. And so she takes longer, but she's just very careful with and precise and exact in her words. So she's very good at that. And then we have a full-time sports reporter. We actually have a part-time sports reporter as well. And so, yeah, it is amazing that, and the thing that Jim didn't tell you about this Virginia Press Association, which I'm always so pleased when we get recognized there, is that we are up against community newspapers that are owned by big corporations, right? They have corporate advertising people, they have corporate layout people, they have all these specializations. They have the resources of a much, much larger paper, but they're local papers and that they just distribute locally. So, and like I said, we do everything except print the paper in our office. And so I'm always so proud of our team, and we just really have great folks working for us. And I just feel so fortunate to be working with them.
John Burris, I was going to ask you about the model, because I've been involved with some people, like the publisher and the pilot, and a retired publisher. But are legal ads a big part of your revenue stream now? Has that become a thing in the last, say, 5 years or so?
It's all, I think for the Post, it's always been a big part of it. It ebbs and flows, right now, it's a pretty big piece of it. And Angie is always courting other attorneys to get their legal ads as well, because foreclosures have to be advertised. We're always looking for what don't we have, and we're out there trying to.
I've worked with her, and she does a great job, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, she's awesome.
Is your model, is it being other small community papers like yours, or?
Yes, being able to print legals is, if that went away, then that would be crippling to us.
Okay.
We'd have to rethink a lot of things.
So I think most of the ads have gravitated to you guys away from the news, because it's more widely received here, I think, really, among other things.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cost difference are, but I've used certain things.
Yeah, and the other odd thing is, because they closed their local office, we get a lot of their calls, even people that called them get sent by the Salisbury office to us. But we're a different publication. We can't usually help them with anything. So it's kind of I've switched a lot, and I was, oh my gosh, I'm a raider. I'm a corporate raider. I went back and hired all these people from the Eastern Shore News. We had Sam Celardon as an advertising person. He has since retired. Carol came to work for us. I'm in discussions with another person about the possibility of coming over, and so we've been, like I said, we've been just really fortunate. Our paper was there at a good time in publishing history because of the acquisitions of the corporations by what are they called? The corporate, anyway, I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but it was a good time because as they come in and try to cut costs, you know, when I worked for the Eastern Shore News, there were 1, 2, 3 reporters, a photographer, editor, and 3 or 4 salespeople. And by the time Carol came to work for us, she was the last person, and they were closing that office. And I just happened to offer her that job on the day that she found out that they were closing it, and that all worked out really well. We were very happy to have her, but yeah. Yes.
Hi, Joe Natale. 2 questions. What's how did the Eastern Shore Post originate and when? And what is your background?
Sure. The Eastern Shore Post has been there at June of 1999.
Okay.
Was the first publication, and the person that I got the paper from, Cheryl, who used to be Nowak, now Sterling, and Candy Barlow, thank you, started it together. They started the paper together, and then eventually Cheryl bought out Candy, and she was ready to retire a few years ago. My background is not in news. I mean, it's in transportation. I was a transportation policy person for the Michigan Department of Transportation. And then I went to work for Governor Jennifer Granholm as her transportation policy advisor. And then, and so a lot of what I did was ghost writing speeches, ghost writing articles, that kind of thing. So that's where my writing piece comes in. But we moved here to the shore, and I was looking for, I was the trailing spouse. My husband is the deputy county administrator for Accomack County. And so I was looking for work, and Charlie Russell was looking for a reporter, and that's how I got started here in news. And I'll always be grateful to Charlie for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did I hit everything?
Okay, any other questions?
I just have
Go
a
ahead, Jim.
comment on this, I hope you don't mind. Congratulations on your award.
Oh, thank you.
It's obviously well deserved. I was here flipping through the paper and I saw that, and so that's very impressive. But the other thing that impressed me is the word integrity. We get so much now that has lack of integrity, and it is so nice to hear that support. And you do a fabulous job. I've had it here online, so we can see it from up into Spain.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, you'd be surprised. We have, last time I looked, we had readers in 36 different countries.
Wow.
I don't know how many of those are just looking for ways to get our stuff, but, but I mean, there are a lot of connections here. And the really surprising one is the number of readers we have in Eastern Europe. And I think that has to do with the NASA and the launch complex out there. And those are family members. I'm guessing it's conjecture on my part, but. Well, thank you.
Well, Connie, really, gave us some pens. We're going to return the favor.
Thank you.
And again, I want to thank you. I will say to the people here, if you've not read the Post, that it does report the news, but there's a human touch to it. So it's not just cold news. You sense some empathy in there when people are in trouble and so forth. So it's not just cold news. Here's the facts. There's a connection to humanity in all your writing in there.
Well, these are our friends and neighbors that we're writing about.
Yes,
so.
yes. And again, I really read a lot of the obituaries, and I can tell you, I'm from Baltimore. You read an obituary in the Baltimore Sun, it's like 3 lines long, and that's it.
Well, I have to say, it has more to do with our absurdly cheap obituary prices. Other funeral homes, they laugh when we tell them the price because it's so affordable.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those in the post and that they're at least one column long, sometimes up to 2 columns long.
Yeah.
It really tells you a lot about the people that have just passed as well as the family and so forth. So Connie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was very nice meeting you.
Thank
too.
you. It's nice meeting you too. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Okay, anything else from anybody that they want to bring up? All right, why don't we go ahead and stand then? And for the things we think, do, say, and do. Number 1.
Is it the truth?
Number 2.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number 3.
Will it build goodwill and friendships?
And number 4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm going to ask that if you want to continue some conversations, if you could do it outside, because we do have a presentation for the fireside chat.
What about number 5?